Heinrich Himmler, Nazi Germany. Heinrich Himmler rose from a minor nationalist activist to the most feared man in Nazi Germany after Adolf Hitler. Initially an agricultural student with extremist political interests, he joined the SS when it was little more than a ceremonial guard. Through relentless loyalty and an obsession with racial ideology, Himmler transformed the SS into a vast organization that controlled police forces, intelligence networks, and the concentration camp system. By the mid-1930s, Himmler had become the effective second-in-command of the Nazi state, wielding near-absolute authority over internal security. Under his direction, the Holocaust was executed on an industrial scale. Himmler approved the construction and expansion of extermination camps such as Auschwitz-Birkenau, Treblinka, and Sobibor. It was he who oversaw the murder of 6 million Jews, along with hundreds of thousands of Roma, disabled people, political prisoners, and captured Soviet soldiers. Himmler personally inspected killing sites and demanded higher efficiency. He approved the use of Zyklon B gas and supported the Einsatzgruppen death squads, which massacred entire communities behind the Eastern Front. One such operation, the Babi Yar massacre in 1941, killed more than 33,000 Jewish civilians in 2 days. Himmler was not simply a bureaucrat, he was the architect of genocide. Reinhard Heydrich, Nazi Germany. Reinhard Heydrich, often described as the most dangerous man in the Third Reich, rose rapidly after joining the Nazi Party. A former naval officer dismissed for misconduct, Heydrich found his way into Himmler's SS, where his cold intelligence and organizational skill made him indispensable. He became head of the Reich Main Security Office, the RSHA, which combined the Gestapo, the SD intelligence unit, and the criminal police into one lethal machine. Heydrich chaired the Wannsee Conference in January 1942, where the final solution was formalized into a systematic plan for mass extermination. But his brutality was evident long before. He commanded Einsatzgruppen in the early stages of Operation Barbarossa, unleashing death squads that executed more than 1 million Jews, communists, and civilians across Ukraine, Belarus, and the Baltics. Heydrich also ruled the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia, where he imposed martial law, carried out mass executions, and destroyed entire villages in retaliation against resistance movements. After his assassination in 1942, the Nazis massacred the village of Lidice on his orders, even after his death, killing the men, sending the women to concentration camps, and murdering or kidnapping the children. Few second-in-command leaders in history combined intelligence and cruelty so completely. Lavrentiy Beria, Soviet Union. Lavrentiy Beria rose from a provincial Georgian security officer to Stalin's most loyal executioner. Appointed head of the NKVD in 1938, he reorganized the secret police during the final years of the Great Purge, expanding surveillance, torture, and mass detention. Though often seen as Stalin's instrument, Beria was a powerful second-in-command figure who managed internal security, counterintelligence, and the Gulag system. Beria was directly responsible for the Katyn massacre in 1940, where more than 22,000 Polish officers, intellectuals, and professionals were executed and buried in mass graves. He also oversaw the deportation of entire ethnic groups, the Chechens, Ingush, Crimean Tatars, and Volga Germans, accusing them of collaborating with the enemy. These forced removals resulted in tens of thousands of deaths due to cold, starvation, and disease. Under his leadership, the Gulag camps grew into an archipelago of brutality. Millions were sent to harsh labor colonies where death from starvation, exposure, and exhaustion was routine. Beria's combination of personal cruelty, political cunning, and administrative power made him one of the deadliest second-in-command leaders of the 20th century. Kinji Doihara, Imperial Japan. General Kinji Doihara rose through the ranks of Japan's Kwantung Army by becoming one of its most ruthless intelligence officers. A master manipulator, he engineered political chaos in Manchuria, orchestrating assassinations, smuggling networks, and puppet governments to justify Japanese expansion. His deep involvement in the creation of Manchukuo elevated him to a position of extraordinary influence, effectively second in command over Japan's actions in occupied China. Doihara's rule was marked by mass exploitation. He oversaw opium zones, where Chinese civilians were forced into addiction so that the revenue could fund Japan's war machine. His operations facilitated human trafficking, forced labor, and systematic terror against civilians. Doihara also maintained close ties to Unit 731, Japan's notorious biological warfare program. Under his authority, civilians and prisoners were subjected to human experimentation, including vivisections, plague testing, and lethal biological trials. Entire villages were exposed to pathogens released by his units. After Japan's defeat, Doihara was convicted of war crimes and executed, one of the highest-ranking Japanese leaders held accountable. Hermann Göring, Nazi Germany. Hermann Göring was one of Hitler's earliest supporters. A decorated World War I pilot, he leveraged his notoriety to enter Nazi politics. As Hitler consolidated power, Göring became head of the Luftwaffe, president of the Reichstag, and the man designated as Hitler's official successor, effectively making him the second in command of the Nazi state in the 1930s and early 1940s. Göring created the Gestapo before handing control to Himmler, but his influence remained enormous. In 1941, Göring signed the formal directive ordering Reinhard Heydrich to implement the final solution. He supervised the economic plunder of occupied Europe, seizing art, property, and industries while starving populations. Göring's Luftwaffe bombed Warsaw, Rotterdam, and London, killing thousands of civilians. During the invasion of the Soviet Union, he authorized the starvation of millions through resource seizures and blockades. While others executed genocide more directly, Göring's political power and economic policies enabled the machinery of mass murder to function. Ratko Mladic, Bosnian Serb Army. Ratko Mladic rose through the Yugoslav People's Army before becoming the top military commander under political leader Radovan Karadzic during the Bosnian War. As the military's second-in-command of the Bosnian Serb leadership, Mladic held operational control over forces that carried out some of the worst atrocities in Europe since World War II. His actions during the 1995 Srebrenica genocide are among the most infamous. After capturing the UN-declared safe zone, Mladic's troops separated men and boys from their families, executing more than 8,000 and burying them in mass graves. The killings were systematically organized, with buses, firing squads, and bulldozers used to dispose of bodies. Mladic also orchestrated the nearly 4-year siege of Sarajevo. Artillery and snipers targeted civilians daily. Children were killed while walking to school, women were shot while collecting water, and mortar shells struck crowded markets. The resulting civilian death toll exceeded 11,000. Mladic was later convicted of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. Augustin Ndindilimana, Rwanda. Augustin Ndindilimana became one of the highest-ranking officers in Rwanda's gendarmerie, leading up to the 1994 genocide. Serving under the extremist interim government, he was part of a command structure that enabled the systematic extermination of Tutsi civilians. Roadblocks manned by Hutu militias, often supported by gendarmerie units, became killing points where Tutsis were identified and slaughtered. Massacres at churches, schools, and hospitals occurred across the country. Although the genocide was politically directed from above, Ndindilimana's forces played a crucial role in coordinating logistics and weapons distribution. Key examples include the massacres in Kigali's districts, where gendarmerie units escorted or allowed militias to conduct house-to-house killings. The ICTR held Ndindilimana responsible for failing to stop the atrocities committed under his command, although his sentence was later reduced. George Pintilie, Romania. George Pintilie, born Pantele Bodnarenko, was a Soviet-trained agent installed in Romania after World War II. As one of the founders of the Securitate, Romania's secret police, he became the second-in-command enforcer under communist leaders like George Georgiou Dej. Pintilie supervised torture chambers, forced labor camps, and political prisons. Siget Prison, one of the most notorious detention centers, held intellectuals, priests, and former politicians who were starved, beaten, and medically neglected to death. Pintillier personally conducted interrogations that included beatings, electric torture, and prolonged solitary confinement. During the early communist years, thousands were executed or disappeared under his authority. His reign marked the darkest era of political repression in Romania. Elie Hobeika, Lebanese forces. Elie Hobeika rose to power as a militia commander under Bachir Gemayel during the Lebanese Civil War. Intelligent, charismatic, and ruthless, he quickly became the second-in-command of the Lebanese forces, controlling powerful paramilitary units aligned with Israel during parts of the conflict. Hobeika is most infamous for directing the Sabra and Shatila massacre in September 1982. After the assassination of Gemayel, Hobeika's militia entered Palestinian refugee camps in Beirut, allegedly seeking members of the PLO. Instead, over the next 36 hours, they slaughtered between 800 and 3,500 Palestinian civilians, men, women, and children. Homes were burned, families dragged into the streets, and bodies mutilated. International investigators concluded that Hobeika was the field commander who gave the final order. The massacre remains one of the bloodiest episodes of the war. Ali Kushayb, Darfur, Sudan. Ali Muhammad Ali Abdal Rahman, widely known as Ali Kushayb, emerged as one of the Janjaweed militia's leading commanders during the Darfur conflict. Acting under the Sudanese government's political leadership, Kushayb functioned as a second-in-command operational leader on the ground. He commanded raids on villages belonging to non-Arab ethnic groups such as the Fur, Masalit, and Zagawa. These attacks featured mass killings, systematic sexual assault, destruction of homes, and the forced displacement of entire populations. In the town of Delage in 2003, Kushayb's forces executed civilians, burned villages, and committed widespread sexual violence. Survivors reported that militia under his command threw children into burning houses and shot men who attempted to flee. The International Criminal Court charged him with dozens of counts of crimes against humanity and war crimes.